to me is,
please, sir, please.
I'll start again.
Please, please start.
Yeah, from the beginning. So today's topic is teenage, adolescence, and sexual health problems. Mainly, I will be concentrating upon the teenage group, and of course, it includes even few years plus or minus teenage. And just to introduce the subject, teenagers, adolescents are likely to face a range of health and social challenges. This afternoon, I am going to touch only upon the health aspects, not the social challenges. There will be a lot of initiation of sexual activity while they lack adequate knowledge and skill for protection, and places of adolescence are higher risk for unwanted pregnancy, unsafe abortion, and sexually transmitted infections. So the very important point in teenagers, they are in the cross world. They neither know completely about sex and sexuality and the outcome of the sexual activity, nor they are totally ignorant about the sex. They want to enjoy the sex, but without knowing the consequences of it. So that is the problem in the teenage. So they are not completely well versed with the outcome of the sexual activity. And second problem is their sexual organs are not fully mature enough to take up the consequences of sexuality, especially the girls who may land up in pregnancy. And any pregnancy in teenage is unwanted pregnancy, and they have to undergo abortion, which will be again unsafe. So, and also they are exposed to sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV and AIDS, because they are not fully aware of the protection of the sexual activity when they undergo this sexual activity. So this half-cooked knowledge in the teenage about sex and sexuality, consequences of the sexual activity, is the main problem during the teenage. So I am going to talk this subject in the following chapters. Introduction, what is teenage, developmental changes in the teenage, that is both in the boys and girls, menstrual problem in girls, masturbation both in boys and girls, sexual abuse, drug addiction in teenage, teenage pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases in teenage, and importance of sex education. These are the chapters which I am going to cover in the next 50 minutes or so. So coming to teenage, all of you know what teenage is. Any number which ends with 18, that is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. In Kannada, Hadi Arayada Vayasu. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 ಮತ್ತು 19. That is 19. So these are all the teenagers. And this teenage is also called as adolescent age. And this is the turning point in anybody's life, because this is the age when a child becomes an adult. This is a time for growth spurts and puberty changes. That is, a boy or a girl, suddenly he becomes he, that is a man or a woman. That is the turning point of the age, and sexual maturation occurs in the teenage. A teen may grow several inches in several months, followed by a time of very slow growth. Then they may have another growth spurt. So, for example, when we see the teenagers, after 2 years, if you see, they would have grown up so tall and muscular or feminine that we may not be able to identify them. We will simply say, oh, yene, when I saw you, you were a small kid, now you are a grown-up boy or a man. That is the exclamation we see when we suddenly see a boy or a girl after a lapse of 2 to 3 years. A teenage and puberty changes may happen slowly, or several changes may occur at the same time. All the teenagers don't grow simultaneously. Some grow very quickly, some grow slowly. That is the, and if you take up any class, if you are, most of you know, I know that you are teachers, and if you are teaching these teenagers in PU class or SSLC class, suddenly you see lot of change. One person may be looking childish, another girl may be looking like a woman. So there will be a lot of difference between the growth of these teenagers given in the same age group. So coming to developmental changes in the boys, it is hard to know exactly when puberty occurs in the boys. In girls, you can immediately say that puberty changes are going on. But in boys, the changes are not that line demarcated. And when exactly it starts, it is not known because it's a very gradual process. There are changes that occur, but when happens slowly and over a period of time. Unlike girls who suddenly mature at the age of 13, we see she was a small girl, and 14, she is a grown up girl or an adolescent. In boys, it is not like that. It's a gradual change. It is not just a single event. Each male is different and may go through these changes differently. And the changes occur are like this. The start of puberty in boys is between the 9.5 to 14 years. It varies so much. First puberty change is enlargement of the testicles. You can see the testicles growing. Penis enlargement begins 1 year after the testicles begin enlarging. Pubic hair is about 13.5 years. Wet dreams start appearing in that is called as nocturnal emissions at about the age of 14 years. Hairs start growing under the arms, on the face, and also around the pubic region at the age of 15 years. Later on, the hair spread starts even over the chest and also the leg at the age of 17, 18, and 19 onwards. So, friends, you can see the picture how a boy changes into a man or an adolescent, well-grown man. You can see the pubic changes, pubic hair, hair over the hands, chest, leg, armpit, and the face also. And the development of external genital organs, that is the testis and the penis. And coming to puberty in girls, girls also experience puberty as a series of change of events. But their puberty changes often begin before the boys of the same age. That is, the puberty starts at between 9 to 13 in the girls, whereas it is 11 to 14 in boys. So boys are little slower in attaining the puberty compared to the girls. Each girl is different and may go through these changes differently. Come, let us know what are the changes these girls undergo. Start of puberty between 8 to 13. Nowadays, we see the maturity of the girls at an age 2 to 3 years earlier than what we used to see about 2 decades ago. 2 decades ago, when I started my gynecology practice, the girls used to attain the menarche at the age of, say, 13, 14, 15. Now I see even the school girls, that is even primary school girls, at the age of 8, 9, the parents bring and say that she has already matured. This is because of the growth spurt which has occurred in India. That is because of the improved the food and the nutrition which we are giving to our children. The standard of living in our country has grown so advanced, so well, especially in the city areas, that the girls are getting better nutrition, better food, and they are growing faster, and they are attaining the menarche, that is puberty, at least 2 to 3 years earlier than what we used to see earlier. First puberty change is the breast enlargement, then the pubic hair appears, and after that, the hair under the arms will appear at around about 12 years. And menstrual cycle, it starts between the age of 10 to 16.5 years. So if a girl doesn't attain menarche and if a girl doesn't attain menstrual period, you need not worry. You can wait till an age of 15 or 16 as long as her other features are okay. But if you get a doubt about the menarche changes are not going so fast, then it is better to take her to the gynecologist and check it out why she is not attaining menarche even at the age of 14 or 15 or 16 or so. And never wait beyond 16.5 years because that is a deadline. If she doesn't attain the puberty at the age of 16.5 years, and if she doesn't get her first period at the age of 16 year, it means she has some severe hormonal problem or severe genetic abnormality. She has to undergo thorough gynec checkup. Otherwise, she will end up in other problems. So One of the main problem in the adolescent period regarding the health is concerned is the premenstrual syndrome, that is PMS. In co-education schools and colleges, it's very common that the girls get absent for themselves for 2 to 3 days in a month, and that is because of this premenstrual syndrome. In short, what we call it PMS. PMS is when a girl has mood and body changes before or during her period. It's usually at its worst during the 4 days before the period. PMS usually goes away 2 to 3 days after the period begins. Heavy and irregular bleeding, referred to as dysfunctional uterine bleeding, can indicate serious underlying medical problem in the teenage. So the main problem we face in teenage girls is the premenstrual syndrome, that is the period with the pain during the before the periods, and also dysmenorrhea, that is painful bleeding, and dysfunctional uterine bleeding, that is excess bleeding. So these are the three major sexual health problems we face during the teenage in the girls. And other menstrual problems like pain, that is dysmenorrhea, is the most common problem women have with their periods. In fact, girls miss their classes, exams, even the sports activity, even competitive examinations, even when they have reached finals in some of the games, they may miss that. That is because of the dysmenorrhea, that is painful menstrual cycle. More than half of women who have periods get some pain around this period. But most of these periods, this pain, they may ignore, or they may go with minor treatment like the hot therapy or just massaging around the lower pelvis with some oil or some home medicine. But about 10 to 12% of the girls who have this menstrual period problem, they require treatment, some analgesics, some like ibuprofen or so. Some women may get just a feeling of heaviness in the abdomen or tugging in the pelvic area. Other women experience severe cramps different from premenstrual syndrome pain. That is, we have two types of pain in the girls. That is PMS, that is periods before the periods, and menstrual pain, that is dysmenorrhea, that is after the start of the periods. And coming to problems, the sexual problems in the boys, the more commonest problem with the boys is myths about the masturbation. They started their masturbation, and most of the times their senior boys would have taught them about the masturbation, and sometimes the elder brother or neighbor, they will initiate the masturbation in boys. And from medical standpoint, there is nothing wrong with the masturbation. It's perfect normal for both boys and girls to masturbate. Masturbation can release sexual tension as well as other tensions. Masturbation goes against the beliefs of some religion and other groups. Person's physical health in the way. Masturbation can sometimes conflict with a person's religious belief or personal values. And there are several myths about the masturbation. And what masturbation cannot do is, it's a negative term I am using. Masturbation cannot stunt the growth, cannot affect ability to have children in future, cannot damage the eyesight, cannot give STD, cannot get you blind, cannot become mentally ill, cannot grow hair or warts on your palms, cannot have normal sex with another person, that is double negative, run out of sperm and won't be able to have children. That is, you cannot run out of the sperms, and you cannot, the other persons will not know you by looking at you. That is, whether you are masturbated or not, nobody can guess you. So there are so many other myths regarding the masturbation. Friends, to be very frank with you, masturbation is a perfectly normal biological event. It need not be stopped. As long as masturbation is within some limits, say something like 3-4 times a week, or even up to maximum of daily once, it doesn't harm the body in any way, both physically and mentally. But the worry about the masturbation is, that is the myth about the masturbation is the problem, that is called as Dot syndrome. Many people will think that, oh, doing masturbation is something harmful. It is a dangerous event. It will spoil the health. One drop of semen is equal to 1,000 drops of blood. So semen should not be wasted. Semen should not be leaked out. Semen is very precious. It is a liquid gold. So there are so many hundreds of myths about the masturbation. They are all false. The only what is right about masturbation is it is 100% normal biological event. One need not worry about it. It is perfectly okay to masturbate both in boys and girls. So coming to masturbation in girls, masturbation can actually help girls to understand their own bodies better, and they can do so without any shame or guilt. So girls who do masturbation, they need not feel ashamed of themselves because it is a perfectly normal biological event, just like what the boys do. Masturbation can help enhance a woman's sexual experience with her partner. There is enormous potential for healing, fulfillment, and well-being through exploring sexuality as a woman and expressing it and experiencing it with joy. So masturbation is a gateway for sexual health in future, and it is perfectly normal, and just enjoy it. Only thing is excess masturbation, the one may land up in problem because doing masturbation 3-4 times a day, one may become weak because will be always engaged with the he or she will be always engaged with the masturbation. So masturbation, is it harmful to women? No. From health science perspective, masturbation is not at all harmful. Some people think masturbation is bad for moral reasons. However, that is a personal choice. So if some religion thinks that menstruation is abnormal, we cannot help it because it is their personal choice. How frequently masturbation can be done? When masturbation start to have your own life, then it could be a problem. So masturbation is okay, perfectly okay, for say about 3 to 4 times a week. That is alternate days is perfect. But sometimes daily once masturbation is also acceptable. But doing masturbation more than once per day, it may have some health problem because most of the times the person will be preoccupied with the masturbation activity. So rather hang out at home alone and masturbate than be with your friends. Then you may want to talk to a therapist. So if a person starts living in within the four walls of her room, then if she misses the friends, if she misses the classes, and if he or she misses all the other activities and give priority only for masturbation, then that person requires the help of a sexologist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And if you don't know this, how to contact the sexologist or a psychologist or a therapist, then ask your family doctor or your parents or your teacher at school. They will help you to set an appointment with the therapist, that is sexologist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so that they will know how to get out of this, the masturbation addiction. So the other major health issue during the teenage is the sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV and AIDS. There is an alarming increase in the prevalence of STDs among the adolescents and young boys and girls in our country. Despite the fact that many teenagers do not perceive that they are at risk of STDs, the incidence of certain STDs is so high that some researchers have concluded that contracting a common potentially cancer-causing STD like human papillomavirus should be considered as inevitable consequence of sexual activity. Teens and young adults have become the population group at greatest risk for acquiring the STDs. As I told you earlier, the teenagers are exposed to the sexual activity every time, and since they don't know the consequences of the sexual activity, they'll end up in problem, including the sexually transmitted diseases. That's why health education is very, very important, which I will come to you later on. So teaching safe sex, that is, the statistics shows that 13% had exposure to commercial sex workers during teenage boys. Prevalence of sexually transmitted infection was about 18%, both in boys, 8%, both in boys and girls. This is a study done in India. Overall condom usage, at least once was reported only in 23% of the adolescents. That's a very low usage. Complete knowledge about condom usage was found to be only as low as 8%. Friends, this is very, very alarming slide because our teenagers don't know the usage of condom. Only 8% know it, and only 23% have used the condom during their sexual activity. That means other 77% have exposure to the probable pregnancy as well as sexually transmitted diseases. There is a huge number. That's why it is very, very important to see that all of them they get well educated so that we can prevent the unwanted pregnancies and STDs. And another problem of say the health problem during the adolescent age is the drug addiction. Drug addiction, including the use of cannabis, heroin, and Indian produced pharmaceutical drugs are most frequently abused drugs in India. Then cannabis products, often called as charas, bhang, ganja, are abused throughout the country because it has attained some amount of religious sensitivity because of the association with some Hindu deities. If you go to some of the Himalayan region where lot of sadhus and gurus, they practice bhajans and they practice so many Hindu rituals. And in some of the Hindu rituals, they use this cannabis and charas and bhang and ganja in the name of the religion. This is very bad. It has to be stopped. Absolutely, there is no link between Hinduism and the use of these drug addiction. It has to be stopped and it has to be discouraged. Even other addictions like alcohol, smoking, they all start in the teenage. Once they start these use of these cannabis, heroin, and even tobacco, then it is very difficult for them to discontinue the addiction later on in their life. So heroin, opium, alcohol, cannabis, propoxyphilin are the 5 most common drugs being abused by children in India. I repeat, heroin, opium, alcohol, cannabis, and propoxyphene. These are the 5 commonest drugs which are used in our country. In India, an NGO survey revealed that 63% of patients coming in for treatment were introduced to the drug at the age below 15 years. That is, most of the times the teenagers are exposed to this drug addiction, and there are a lot of the vendors around the colleges and schools. They will keep a pawn bida shop in the corner and they start giving the smoking the cigarettes or other the punks, and slowly they will pull these teenagers towards the addiction. Initially, they will give this opium or heroin free of cost, cannabis, and once the person gets addicted, then he will start carving for these drugs and he will start paying for it. And once he starts paying for it, more and more money is required, and he will start getting the money from all sources, including from the own resources. Afterwards, he will start even stealing the money from his own house because he needs the amount for the drugs. So, friends, teenage is the age where one should take care of this probable addiction, and it has to be prevented at any cost. And all the shops around the schools and colleges, they should be periodically inspected so that they don't sell these addictive medicines. And according to another report, 13% of the people involved in drug and substance abuse in India are below 20 years. That is a huge number. So teenage is the age where one gets easily trapped into this addiction. So another deadly problem of the teenage sexual health is the teenage pregnancy. Adolescent may be defined as a transition from childhood to adulthood, a time when structural, functional, and psychosocial developments occur. Consequently, pregnancy during teenage can adversely affect the health as the adolescent female concerned is yet to attain her full growth potential. In other words, the uterus is small. It has not grown to the full extent. And when pregnancy goes and sits inside this womb, then the problem starts because the child, as usual, it will start growing in its own growth spurt, and at the same time the uterus will not expand because the uterus is small for day and usually results in abortions. Consequently, the pregnancy during teenage can adversely affect the health as the adolescent female concerned is yet to attain her full growth potential. Reports show adolescent pregnancies also impact the social development and national economy because the chances of abortions during the adolescent age is high, and it's a burden for the health sector of our country, and it's a burden for the national economy also. So, friends, let us come to the very important aspect of today's lecture, that is the importance of sex education. Why sex education has to be introduced into our teenage boys and girls, especially from middle school or high school onwards, especially at least from 8th standard onwards, is because in the class at 8, most of the boys and girls will be of the age of 13. That is, the teenage starts at the 8th standard and it continues up to second PU. So all this year, about 5 years, they are very, very crucial. And at this time, the importance of sex education is very, very important. Yesterday, I had been to Hansya School near the Mysore Outer Ring Road, where I addressed the boys and girls of the high school. And when I interacted with them, I talked about the common sexual problems during the teenage. And then I interacted with them. Hardly any boy or girl knew about the description about the teenage and the sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, and other things. Of course, they knew a little bit here and there, but complete thorough knowledge was lacking. And then I asked for what they have been taught in biology class as far as the reproductive medicine is concerned. I was very happy to see the books which contain some amount of information regarding the fertility, regarding the internal genital organs of the male and female, and how reproduction is done. So I'm happy that the government has introduced in the syllabus certain aspect of sexual education in the high school. But that is not adequate. More and more chapters, more and more information has to be given. And there is no point in hiding the sex and sexuality from the teenagers because anyhow, they are going to become adults shortly. And there is nothing wrong if they know it, what happens tomorrow itself, today itself. And in that way, there's so many advantages are there in giving sex education in the early life itself, which I'll come to later on. So having access to sexual and reproductive health and rights can decrease the child marriage because once they know that their organs are not well developed and it is not good to marry at the age below 18 years because the sex organs are not fully developed, that education itself will decrease the child marriage because the girl knows about the responsibilities and decrease in the teenage pregnancies and decrease the prevention of transmission of sexually transmitted infections, including the HIV and AIDS. So introducing the sexual education, it has got important role to play. And most of the advanced countries, they are very freely educating their teenagers with sexual material introduced in the schools in the name of sexual education. Many times the people think that sexual education is the how to do the intercourse that is taught in the sexual education. It is totally not correct. No class or no book teaches about the sexual activity itself is concerned. That is how intercourse is done, what are the positions of intercourse, All these things are not taught in sexual education. Sexual education is totally different than what the people think. This change has to occur so that the sexual education will be introduced in with more and more chapters in the years to come. So reproductive sexual health education, it protects both mother and child from infectious diseases and to deliver a healthy baby. It provides complete knowledge about the early pregnancy, infertility, birth control methods, pregnancy, child, post-childbirth care of the baby and mother. So these are the things which are taught in the reproductive sexual health education, not the Kama Sutra, not the Bhangis, not how the intercourse is done. We don't teach what is oral intercourse, what is anal intercourse, what is multiple sex. No, that is not taught. So one should not mistake the sexual education for what we see in the porn. The blue film is not shown in the sexual education class and nothing of that sort. What is taught is about the knowledge about the sexual intercourse, how pregnancy occurs, how one person may land up in infertility, what are the birth control methods, contraceptives are available, what is condom, what are the types of condom, what is pregnancy, what is post-childbirth care, care of the mother and child. So these are the topics which have to be taught and which are being taught in the high schools and PU colleges, not Kama Sutra. Sex education is an important part of education which helps young people to understand their body, sexual emotions and sexuality, and help them to make informed decision about their bodily needs. So in fact, in advanced countries where the sex education is taught very freely right from past several decades, it shows that once a person knows about the sexual activity completely, the chances of that person getting involved in abnormal sexual activities like rape, unwanted pregnancies and abortions, miscarriages are reduced to a large extent because of the general knowledge about sex and sexuality. So sex education in India, studies have demonstrated that comprehensive sexuality education programs reduce the risk of sexual activity, reduce the risk of sexual risk behaviors, that is number of partners and unprotected intercourses, and also reduce the sexually transmitted infections and adolescent pregnancy. So these are the outcome of giving a good sexual education during the teenage. Understanding the sex is more than just intercourse or masturbation is essential for sexual health. It has to do with our overall health, how comfortable we are in our own skin, and how close we are to our own partner, especially in a place like India, where talking about such topics is considered as a taboo. Earlier, when I started this sexology in the year 1998, everybody laughed at me, saying that what you want to teach the sex to the population, is it? When I started TV programs regarding in the Nitya Sanjeevani about 15 years back, in the beginning, everybody asked me, why you are talking about all these things, that is intercourse and samboga, openly in the TV program. These are all bedroom programs which have to be discussed only after switching off the bedroom light, not even with the light on. These were some of the comments I had, not from the general public, even from the doctors, even from the other doctors and nurses. They started telling that, no, you cannot discuss all these things openly. Of course, now everybody has accepted there are so many health channels, so many internet channels, so many YouTubes, which teach you what is intercourse and what are the techniques of intercourse. And even openly it is being discussed what are the types of sexual activity one have, including the oral sex and anal sex and group sex. So friends, this is the time we should leave all our myths about sex education and have the basic knowledge of the sex and sexuality without any hindrance. We should be encouraging sexual health and education, increasing one's sexual wellness knowledge, fosters a positive and respectful attitude towards sexuality and sexual interactions. This also ensures that couple participating as a safe and enjoyable experience that is free of coercion, discrimination, or violence. Better exposure would also reduce the risk of contracting the sexually transmitted diseases or unintentional pregnancies. In a country that houses a population of 1.4 billion people, having about talking about sex is still a taboo. Sex education program in India receives backlash from parents, conservative religious organizations, and even from ministers. Premarital sex is viewed as immoral and sinful in many ways. It is considered against our culture, hence there is no need to educate the children about the sexual activities. These are the things some of the religions think about this sex education. According to UNO Fund, sexual education aims to advance and strengthen the ability of children and young people to make conscious, satisfying, healthy, and respectful choices concerning relationships, sexuality, and emotional and physical health. So, the basic foundation for the future sexuality will be done by sex education at the right age, that is the teenage. Studies have shown that sexual education at an early age improves the sexual health of the children. The World Economic Forum and other experts assert that comprehensive sex education can prevent even the rapes. A study conducted at Columbia University shows that sex education in school protects the students from sexual assault in colleges. So, friends, what we usually think that giving sexual education will increase the cases of rape, increase the cases of molestation, increase the number of unwanted pregnancies. That is wrong. A contrary is true. The chances of pregnancy come down. The number of rapes will come down. Molestations will come down by giving good sex education at the right time, at the right age. In India, chapters on reproductive biology are not taught in many schools. Since sex is private topics, of primarily teachers believe it should be taught at home, not in the school. This is what even some of the teachers think. Regardless of place, many girls are not told about the menstruation before it begins, since it must be hidden. Young boys are not taught about menstruation because it does not concern them and is still a taboo topic. Children are deprived of understanding the critical changes in their own bodies. Such stigmatization of sexual education results in adolescents facing sexual and reproductive health issues that are in fact preventable. So, having accurate knowledge of adolescent development is critically important because beliefs about youth influence, perceptions, and treatment of young people is very, very important. For example, many parents believe all risk taking is bad and will lead to undesirable, dangerous, or deadly outcome. So many parents and even teachers and politicians and even the general public they think that introducing the sex education at school level will spoil the career of their children. Any program of sex education is made more complicated by three recent developments. Conception can now be readily controlled by oral medications. There is an increasing interest in the detailed understanding of the physiology of the sexual response in both sexes. So once the sexual education is introduced, some believe that some boys and girls start studying more and more about these chapters, and they try to concentrate upon only the sexuality, leaving the other subjects dead. So, coming to the advantages of sex education, increased knowledge, normalization of sexual and reproductive issues. What is hidden is suddenly exposed, and the children know what organs they have and when to use the organ and when not to use the organ. And there will be self-efficacy. Coming to disadvantages, motive for initiating the sexual behavior, that is, they may start experimenting about their sexuality and they fall in love, and they may land up in the sexually transmitted diseases and even the unwanted pregnancy. But statistics shows that the areas where the teenagers are exposed to sexual education in such areas and religions and in such geographical places, including the advanced countries, the chances of unwanted pregnancies and STDs and rapes are less than the areas where this sexual education has not been given. So what you really think that by educating them, they will start initiating the sexual health is wrong, because the statistics prove the otherwise. So friends, I'm coming to the tail end of the class. And to conclude today's lecture, adolescent is a time of sexually risk-taking and experimentation, but also vulnerability. So this age is the age where they start taking risk, and experimentation, where they start doing the experimentation with their sexual tools, that is about their sexual organs like penis and vagina. And also they are vulnerable because of their weakness, one may easily fall in trap with the motives of the other gender, especially the girl getting trapped into the sexual act with the senior boys or classmates. The chances are more because the easy vulnerability, that is easy accessibility, is the main problem regarding the sexuality in the teenage is concerned. Young people may present to general physicians with symptomatic symptoms of sexually transmitted infections such as arthritis, hepatitis, or a rash, but may not necessarily voluntarily informed about the sexual activity. So most of the times when the teenagers come to the doctor with their problems, they won't reveal about their exposure to the sexual activity, fearing that the doctor may inform the parents, and the parents may start scolding or beating them. So with that fear complex, they don't reveal. They simply come to the doctor, say that this has happened. And most common answer I hear from the boys who come for the treatment, even the girls who are exposed to the sexual activities, that they got the infection from public bathroom. They simply say that he urinated in the public bathroom, and after 3 days he got the rash. So this is how they usually present. And carefully taking the history, we can dig out and say that person had the exposure to the sexual activity. Young people may present to general physician with systematic symptoms of sexually transmitted infections. And however, it is becoming increasingly clear that sex education is crucial in bringing about a much needed change in the society's perception of an intimate relationship and removing the taboos associated with it. And adolescents who are sexually conscious are more likely to decline the unprotected sex. So this is very, very important aspect. That means if one knows about the sex and sexuality, and if he or she knows the consequences of having unprotected sex, especially the HIV and the pregnancy, then they will never put their hand into and adventure themselves into the sexual activity during this age, because once they contact the sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, then that disease may run in the complete lifetime. And the pregnancy have got their own complications, and removing the pregnancy doubles the complications of pregnancy, and even stillbirth can occur even if the pregnancy continues for the full term. So these are the main problems faced by the adolescents who are exposed to the sexual activity. Sex education not only covers the physical aspects of sex, but also provides information about emotional intimacy and healthy relationships. Teens can pick up knowledge about STDs, unwanted pregnancies, and the psychological aspects of sex, such as the importance of consent and communication for the sexual activity. The conclusion, this inclusion of such topics in sex education can lead to the promotion of healthy relationship, prevent sexual violence, rape, and help the prevent of spread of sexually transmitted infections like syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes, and the hepatitis, and other rare infections like toxoplasmosis and other viral infections, including the HIV and AIDS. So these are the infections that can easily be transferred from sexual activity from the person who is suffering from the these STDs and HIVs and pass it on to the other person. And that's how this cycle of chain reaction of this medicines and drugs and human being continues. So it is almost impossible to break this cycle because the cycle has grown beyond the Brahmanda and you cannot just stop it. But only thing is we can make sure that the boys and girls who are exposed to the HIV, they get proper medication so that they can enjoy their life without any hindrance. And regular CD4 count will definitely help them to take the antiretroviral medicines so that they get the control of the treatment. One thing is HIV is not curable, but it is controllable. So friends, that's about the entire thing about the sexual activity and how teenage girls and boys are exposed to the so many problems during the sexual teenage, including the menstrual problems, masturbation myths, drug addiction, teenage pregnancy, and sexually transmitted diseases. And also, I have touched upon the importance of sex education in this group. Once they get properly educated, definitely the advantages of many times, many folds more than the disadvantage. The only one or two small disadvantages are that precocious sexual activity. That is, you are tempting a boy or a girl to undergo this sexual activity by starting the education in an early age. That is a myth because those boys and girls who want to engage with the sexual activity, they are exposed to other things in their home or in the neighborhood where the boys and girls, the teenagers and the adult men and women are engaged in sex. So it comes by a natural instinct and seeing at the other parents and friends and seniors, not merely because the sex education is introduced in the school. So introducing the sex education itself will not harm the future of the boys and girls. So I sincerely thank Professor Nanjan Swami from HRDC University of Mysore for calling me to give this webinar to all the esteemed delegates on this webinar of the University of Mysore. And if there are any questions regarding this topic, you are most welcome to ask. And now over to the moderator from the UOM, that is whoever it is, or Professor Nanjan Swami. Professor Nanjan Swami, please. Or anybody from the department. Or the participants themselves, they can switch on the microphone and ask questions directly if the moderator is busy with some other program. Over to the audience.
Sir, myself, Dr. Nagesham is here.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, the present era, you can see that eruption of more sexual contents that are being published in the social media, either maybe through WhatsApp or maybe through Facebook or maybe through Instagram Reels and also even YouTube's, where when we compare to the our generation, where the existence of the social media was it's a zero. But today, the overflow of or the eruption of these sexual content, that are there, how it is, influencing the teenagers about developing a positive attitude towards knowing about their sexual orientation or sex education. So, is it impacting them very badly or impacting them on a positive note?
Yeah, it's a very important question, Professor Nagesh. In fact, I covered about 8 to 10 slides, particularly about the sex education itself. And sex education cannot directly come only from the classroom education. It will come from the society as well as the social media.
True. True.
And it is a very, very important sign about the social media is
Yes.
knowingly or unknowingly, the entire thing which was hidden for decades together or for even centuries together has been suddenly exposed. What was discussed only within the four walls of the bedroom are discussed openly now. It is a very good positive sign. There is no advantage in hiding the things. One day or the other day, they are exposed to the sexual activity.
Obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so instead of having the exposure on the first night, they'll be knowing what happens in the first night much earlier. It's a good sign. Absolutely, there is nothing wrong in the social media. Only thing is, those who want to misuse the social media for any purpose, they will be always misusing. Rapes were occurring decades
Yeah.
earlier also. They will
Of course.
continue to occur. And these expo, if you visit Konark or Ajanta or Ellora, whatever we are seeing was depicted on the sculptures about 900 years ago in our own society. And even those positions of intercourse which are seen in Konark or Ajanta or Ellora, even today it is not possible to totally understand them. All the 64 possible positions of the intercourse, they have been described in the Kama Sutra, which is the master of science of sexuality, which has been given by the Indian to the world. Even the Westerners are astonished to see how advanced the sexual knowledge and anatomy and physiology of sexuality was known to us about, say, 900 and even 1,000 years ago. And today, again, we are seeing them in the form of the 2D picture. What was described with 4D sculptures are seen. So, absolutely, there is nothing wrong. Only thing is, anything overused or anything misused will always have. So that 1 to 2% of the population, we cannot sacrifice for the 99% of the population who will use it for good purposes. And these bad elements will be there everywhere at all the time. We have to just ignore and be done with it. Because even otherwise, these people would have got that knowledge like any other thing by peeping the windows of the adults who are undergoing the sexual activity or peeping through the keyhole. So that was going on from centuries together, and it is done by the windows now of the mobile, which was earlier done through the windows of the bedroom.
See, yeah, that is the one thing is there, but still there is so much of ambiguity that is
it is there, but
ambiguity is
absolutely
there.
no harm has been done.
Yeah, because when we talk about the child psychology, because since now if we look at from the child psychology perspective, the children, the impact on the children, how it can be minimized by in a proper sexual education or the orientation about it, is going to be a very very difficult if at all if it is not being done properly, sir. So because
I agree, Professor Nagesh. See, the children, right from the age of 1 year, they are exposed to the sexual activity of their parents. And when they take the bath, they see the mother, they see the father. So the nudity would have been seen at that time itself. So there is nothing wrong in showing that totally in a perfect way, because one day or the other day they are exposed to it. Even earlier they were exposed. Tomorrow also they will be exposed. So telling them these are the organs, for example, the penis is shown as something else. That they never tell the word penis or whatever in their mother tongue, but they tell in some other form. And one day when they know that, oh, this is the organ you are telling penis. This is, you should have told me earlier itself. I know this organ. So this is how the children will react when they really come to know about the internal and external genital organs. So one day or the other day, they have to be taught. And nowadays, when you just see the syllabus, especially CBSE syllabus of the first standard, they have got 13 subjects, unimaginable, including algebra and geometry. And teaching them again, there is nothing wrong in teaching the external genital organs. After all, there are only 4 organs: penis, testis in male, and breast and the vagina and female. Absolutely, there is nothing wrong to tell that vagina is vagina. Why should you tell vagina is no hole, that one hidden part? This is, hiding anything, it will create more and more curiosity, and they will try to know what it is from indirectly, and they'll end up in problems. Better be transparent. Tell everything, whatever it is.
Good evening, Professor. That was a nice session.
Yeah,
that
thank
you
you,
gave.
Dr. Rashmi. Yeah,
This is Srimati Rashmi Aras, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Hanagod.
thank you. Thank you,
At
Dr.
the
Rashmi.
outset,
Yeah,
sir,
tell me.
at the outset, let me express my gratitude that you covered very nicely
Thank you.
the content. Possibly at my younger age, when I was child or things like that, the sex education was not included.
Absolutely
Right now,
was.
I'm 45 years and there's nothing shy in telling you that.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
not
Even I
included
was
in
not
our
in my school days. The word sex was not even
so
told.
this was not
Let alone
included.
sexual education.
Yeah, this was not included in our education system.
Now it is there.
But,
Yesterday I saw
now
the
I
8th
think
standard
what you are speaking is included. In my niece, who is just
Yes,
right now in her
yes,
6th
that's
standard,
what.
she knows
I
how a
told you,
baby comes
yesterday I
from
visited
where the
Antioch
baby,
school. Yes.
yeah, from where the baby comes.
Yes.
But the greatest challenge now
Yeah.
is how to inculcate that in a civilized society. Now we find that when we are getting this exposed, because one of my dear participant colleague posted it, I think sex education should be given more for Swamijis, that is where. So how to inculcate in this civilized society where men and women like us, men and women, forget about teenagers and children, men and women like us, where we are equally working in pace with men and men working in pace with women. The same sex education, when you talk about, how exactly should it be taken in a civilized society? How do we live in a civilized society by taking it in a right spirit? That is more important right now in the present scenario, because every child knows. You are talking from the point of view of a practicality, mean to say scientific term ಇಂದ ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ಸಿವಿಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಟ್ಟದು ಒಳ್ಳೆದು ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಇದೆ, ಆದರೆ ತೊಂದರೆಗೆ ಒಳಗಾಗ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ is because of improper knowledge ಅಥವಾ because of no proper support with respect to civilized society. Hope, I think, from your end or from the higher end, that can be inculcated as to how we can use it for building a civilized society or building a disciplined society as such.
Yeah, thank
so
you
what's
very
your
much.
say about that? Professor, I just want to continue.
Yeah,
Now
please.
also, because yesterday my mother, who is age 66, she was reading this out. During my menstrual times, because as you know, I do have lots of pain, my mood swings will be happening, I need to take sedatives, otherwise I cannot work. There are officers or there are people, you will be surprised, women who is sitting on the higher realm will not be able to give us support on such days. God, I am praying to God that tomorrow I should not be hesitant in telling that I am on my monthly issues and you have to grant me 3 days leave. So my mother was saying, Supreme Court will be coming out with that order. This is what a civilized society, where they want to take it into ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಅದರಿಂದ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕು ಅದು ತಗೋತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. So this is where we should be involved in building a stronger society. I don't know how you see this, how you say this, how do you give your reaction to my views, Professor?
And sir, I want to add a point with Rashmi madam, where we had done a project on menstrual cycle ಬಗ್ಗೆ, menstrual insulation machines ಅನ್ನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗರ್ಲ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಸ್ಯಾನಿಟರಿ ಪ್ಯಾಡ್ಸ್ ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಲ್ಲೇ ಎಸ್ದು ಹೋಗುವಂತದ್ದು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಡಿಸಾರ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಮೆನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲೇಷನ್ ಮೆಷಿನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ವಿ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಮೆನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಲ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಹೇಗಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ, ಏನ್ ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ. ಹುಡುಗಿಯರು ಸಹ PG ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಹುಡುಗಿಯರು ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಸಿಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹುಡುಗಿಯರು
ಸಮಾಜ ನಾಗೇಶ್ ಸಮಾಜ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಅದು. ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್, ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕಲಿ ಇನ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್, you'll be surprised. Young teenage girls, young school children, and rather than for the children, it is the grown-up people who should be more educated in building a civilized society, disciplined society. We are dealing with young children. We are dealing with young people, be it any profession, be it any profession. Why? Even though we are in an informed and educated society, it is a mindset that has to be built, Professor. It's a mindset that has to be built. I don't know how you will react or how you will take my view, Professor. So every coin has two faces. I'm giving you the other face of the coin.
So thank you, Rashmi, for an elaborate description about what is actually going on in our society. What you told is 101% true. Even today, whatever the society, what we think civilized is not fully civilized. When we compare to the world, at least the Western world, at least few European countries which I was there. I was living in England for 2 years, and I was visited most of European countries and also Americans. And to be very frank with you, the most advanced countries like Norway or Sweden, where the GDP is very high, where the education level is very high, the crime rate, that is the rape or molestation per 1,000 population, is far, far less than our country, which is supposed to be, we are so cultured, so this one religious, and respect the woman so much, we worship the woman as God, and that's all bullshit. What we are doing is totally opposite of what we have been really taught. And I fully agree with you about the way in which we are treating the women, especially even today, the girls in some of the rural population, once they have this menstrual cycle, they have to sit outside the house, and they cannot enter the kitchen, they cannot enter the puja room, they cannot touch others, they cannot serve the food to others. This is even going on today also in some of the rural population. Of course, in cities, it has been reduced to a large extent. And to get a sanitary pad for our children, it is so difficult. They cannot go and ask their parents openly that they want the money for their sanitary pad. They have to beg them in the form of, I want to buy the pen or pencil or something else, to buy the sanitary pad of about 5 rupees. That is, they have to reuse the old cloth instead of the sand. This is a very, very sad sight of affair. In fact, we had done a lot of works in this area with Rotary and Lions, going on to so many co-education schools and girls' schools to distribute the sanitary pads. And even to distribute the sanitary pads, a lot of resistance was there from the parents and also from the teachers initially. Of course, nowadays we are welcome and we are distributing the typhoons, sanitary pads, because that is the right time. We have to tell them to use a clean sanitary pad. Otherwise, they'll be carrying on with the same sanitary pad which their parents and grandparents were using, the same cloth, wash it, dry it, and reuse it. They cannot even dry openly because the blood color is seen. They have to hide it under. This is the naked truth I am telling. This should go. And as I said, we can't agree that ours is a civilized society. We can say civilizing society, just like developing country we have to use, because I have seen the best of the best countries, especially Norway and Sweden,
Yeah.
where absolutely there is absolutely no difference between the men and women. They mix so well, so this one, and everybody knows everything. Absolutely, such chances of molestation in their crimes or things, they're almost zero. And if at all, if it happens, it is from an Asian origin man or woman, not from the original Caucasian woman. That's what I have seen. So I fully agree with you. We'll hope that we also become civilized like that. That can occur only through proper education. And even today, the education level in our country, literacy rate as per the government itself is only 81%. And that 81% is only the people who know how to sign, not how to read and understand. So probably how the read and understanding is only about 40%, I think. The literacy, what the government defines, is totally different. So in a country where 1.4 billion people are there and the education level is 40%, and the real educated level of the graduate level is only about 12 to 18%. What you can expect from this? No education foundation was done in our country. Schools were never built. Even yesterday when I visited the Hancha school, hardly there were any good classrooms. Hardly there was any good toilets, or hardly there
I
was
think
anything.
it should happen from home, Professor. It should
Yeah,
happen from
that is
home.
grossly
It's-
neglected by our
Yeah, it
politicians.
should happen from
Unless
home.
revolution occurs for the education, unless at least 10 to 12% of the GDP is kept for the education, we will never improve. Just like giving a midday meal or one glass of milk or one egg will definitely not help. We have to build a strong foundation. Instead of freebies, if they had built with 63,000 crores, they could have built all the government school in such an excellent way. In another 10 years, you would have seen the revolution in our own state. So that mind should come up from the grassroots politicians. Nobody can help our country unless politicians change themselves.
The mindset of the people in the
Yes,
government. Also the
Sir, when
also
we-
the mindset of the people
I am
in the
telling
government.
this from so many. If you open my YouTube, I have told this hundreds of times, but nobody listens to me.
Yeah.
If a Jilla Panchayat member tells, it will come in headlines of Pradhavani. If a professor like me tells, it will not even go beyond the
It will not
YouTube.
come.
And the YouTube users are hardly few thousands, because those who want to see this channel only will see. Other, it will not reach the real population which has to reach.
Sir, one
Thank you,
information
Professor.
I want to add
Yeah.
here, sir.
Yeah.
So in Indian economy, GDP, out of GDP, we can say 100%. We
Ah.
spend only 2.9% of money to the education sector.
The 2.9%
Still-
goes for the salaries, not for the foundation. What I'm telling is to build the grassroots foundation of the school. The 2.9% is just to fulfill the salaries, and they have to wait for 10 to 12 days before the salary comes. That this has been told not by anybody else, by the administrators of the school only. I'm giving the statistics right from the mouth of the horse only. It is not my statistics.
in future
And
days, sir.
she told me yesterday when I went to the Hancha school, she told me only 6,000 rupees has been given for the other activities for the year, for 6,000 rupees. And that is not even enough to buy the chalk piece, she told. I asked her why you are using the chalk piece even nowadays, because everybody knows that by the chalk piece, the powder which comes out, it is very harmful to the health, and it causes lung diseases. And the teachers who are exposed to this lot of the chalk dust, they have got lot of asthma and other problems. And this has been proved scientifically. When I told, sir, ಈ ಚಾಕ್ ಪೀಸ್ಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಒದ್ದಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಇನ್ನ ನೀವು ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ನೀವು ವೈಟ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಮಾರ್ಕರ್ ಪೆನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಸದ್ಯ ಚಾಕ್ ಪೀಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಸಾಕು. These are the words she told. And absolutely no money is being sent to the schools or this one for the other improvement purposes other than for the salary. What they say is ಸದ್ಯ ಸಂಬಳ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಸಾಕಾಗಿದೆ, and midday meal ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಹಾಲು ಮೊಟ್ಟೆ
Exactly, sir.
ಇನ್ನು ಮುಗಿದೋಯ್ತು ಕತೆ.
ಸರ್,
ಇದು
ಸತ್ಯ
ಹಿಂಗಾಗಿ
ನೀವು
ಏನಿದೆ
ಹೇಳ್ತಾ
ಸರ್,
ಇರೋದು ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನದ
ಎಷ್ಟೋ
ಊಟ
ಸರಿ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್
ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರೆ
ಶಾಲೆ
ಸಾಕು
ಈಗ
ಅನ್ನಂಗೆ
ಈಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಶಾಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ
ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್
ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡೇ ಇಲ್ಲ
ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ
ಸರ್.
ಫ್ರೀ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್
ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ
ಕೊಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ
ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ,
ಇದಾಯ್ತು.
ರೇಷಿಯೋಸ್
ಎಕೋ
ಕಡಿಮೆ
ಆಗ್ತಾ
ಆಗ್ತಾ
ಇದೆ,
ಇದೆ.
ಎಕೋ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಿಮ್ ಫೋನ್ ಏನೋ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಎಕೋ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹೇಳಿ.
ಸರಿ, ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಶಾಲೆಗಳು ಮುಚ್ಚುತ್ತಾ ಇದಾವೆ,
ಹಾ,
ರಿಕ್ರೂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಶಾಲೆಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದಾವೆ.
ಹಾ, ಹಾ.
Education sector means burden to the government. Now the what we are electing the people so called. I think so many issues are there. We could not say in the like the platform. One should listen and
See,
then
Professor Murugesh,
yes sir.
the only 1 point program of all the politicians is once they enter the politics, they should get the chair. And once they get the chair, they should stick on to that chair lifetime.
Yes.
So to achieve that, they will go to any extent, including to sell our country, including to sell the land of our country. They will do anything. They will sell even the secrets of country if they want to remain in the power. This is the 1 point program of all the politicians, irrespective of the whatever the party they belong. So that being the case, what progress you can expect? And what all the progress we have achieved is just from the IT, PT sector, from the doctors and engineers and advocates of our country who have been educated well and who have building the real country, not by the politician. And if at all, if the hard work has come, it is from people like Narayan Murthy or Sudha Murthy who have done so much to the country, or Tata, Birla, or even Ambani's, who have built the country with the hard-earned money and mobilizing the resources in the form of shares, and they have built thousands of millions of crores of capital. And if you take Tata today, Tata's market is more than the GDP of the entire Pakistan. Yesterday I read in this one, the entire TCB, that is the shares of the Tata company, is more than the entire GDP of Pakistan. You can just imagine how these people have really built our country. So we have to be thankful to these industrialists and to the software engineers and who have really built and revolutionized our country from 1990s after the rapid change in the government system where they started giving more and more hands to the private sector. This is what exactly is happening. And if at all there is contribution from the government, they have done a little just to keep quiet, not to interfere with these industries.
Sir, namaste.
Namaste.
This is Lloyd D'Souza, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, the title took me to my high school days,
Yeah.
where there was one subject in biology class on reproduction.
Yes.
So then the sir came to us and he started telling about the hibiscus flower. And then later on, he went to tell on the animals. And then he told it happens same way in the human beings, just like animals. So you just read that chapter. That's enough.
Yes.
So, and just as you said, I think the lady students, they get a better exposure from the authorized people only. But the boys, they don't get sexual education anywhere in the schools and even in the colleges. And they get to know more about sex and sexuality from their other friends. And they also get that from somewhere else. And it is mostly imaginary. So my concern is, sir, if there are any syllabus, particular syllabus in the textbooks now, and whether the teachers are specially trained to disseminate this syllabus to the students now. Or are there any school counselors who deal with this subject to them? Thank you, sir.
That's what. See, this is a transition change. So to impart this education, the teachers, they should be educated. And that should take place in B.Ed, M.Ed classes. They should be taught.
Well said.
And that this is what the university is doing now. I cannot hear. There is interruption in this one.
Said. It is
Yeah,
well
tell me.
said. We teachers should be educated.
Yes, exactly. No, you should
We
start
should-
these things should be start right from not only from the bottom, from the top also.
See this,
First, we have to educate sannyasis and all the professors and all the MLAs and MPs.
Huh.
Sir?
Agree.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, this is Dr. Mansa.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you that as Nagesh sir said about the social media content, So
Yeah.
many of them are exposed to the social media content. My question is this leading to more of crimes in the
No, no,
recent society?
no,
The
no,
gang
no chance.
rapes or the scandals, it could be, or it could be the trafficking. Flesh trafficking has become too much now, especially child sex trafficking has become very much. So is this the platform, the social media is the platform for all these things, sir?
I don't agree. If you go to the statistics, what's happening is earlier these things were not reported.
Yes.
What you told today, if a rape occurs in Mumbai in metro, whole world will be knowing within 1 minute because that will be videoed and it will be put into the YouTube and it becomes viral, and the entire world knows that there was a rape or a molestation in the metro of so and so. Earlier, these were not even reported. In fact, in some of the remote villages of Bihar and other Jharkhand, other still comparatively backward states, these things are going on from decades, even it is not being reported. So if at all, if there is any statistic, absolutely it is insignificant. The number of molestations and the rapes per million population in India is comparatively less than the other comparable world. If you just go to the number, our country will stand first because we are the largest population in the world. If you say that there are 1,000 molestations per day, that means 1,000 divided by 1.4 billion. So that if you come to the statistics, we are quite safe. Our country is quite safe compared to several other countries which are in the same line of our nature. Like say compared to in say Bangladesh or Nepal or Pakistan or Sudan or Nigeria. So compared to other developing countries, we are quite safe. The living standard safety in our country is quite safe compared to other developing countries. But I am not comparing with the Western world or the developed world or the Australians or New Zealanders, where their standards are totally different and totally high. If you compare to Japan, we stand nothing. We are almost zero line. So what I am saying is that, of course, we are in the transition stage. I hope our country will become more and more advanced, and imparting the knowledge through the social media will not increase the rate of these sexual assaults. If at all, if it occurs means they are reporting it promptly. Earlier, they were not being reported.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If there are no questions, I think we have reached the time limit of the lecture also. It was a very, very interesting interaction, and I am extremely happy to be associated with such highly knowledgeable participants who contributed so much more than what I was really telling, especially Rashmi Aras, Manasa, Dr. Murgesh, and all others. I don't want to miss any name. You have contributed actually to the lecture much more than what I have done. I hope in the years to come, this knowledge, the knowledge about sexuality and sexual education trickles down right from the President of India to the last person in our country, so that ultimately we become a civilized world, what Dr. Rashmi told. To become a civilized world, lot of things have to be done. At least we are in the right path now. So we will continue our path, and those who are learned in this area will try to go and reach the remotest and remote part of the villages and start telling about this in our schools. That is exactly what I am doing. I am visiting the rural schools only. I had been to so many rural schools, even I had been to Arkere, where there were more than 500 girl students. Really, it was heart-warming reception I got, because the girls were so happy. They interacted so well. I have released a video of that for those who are interested. They can log on to the YouTube and put my name and say Arkere school health program. You will get it. Hancha school program is also there. today morning I have launched in the YouTube. We can see how girls interacted. That shows that transition renaissance is taking place in our country. Hope that will continue. Hope our politicians will positively respond to what's going on in the scientific world and try to listen to the people who are in the forefront and incorporate this education without any hesitation into the school and college curriculum, so that in the years to come, our children will be better learned about the sex and sexuality, so that the chances of teenage pregnancy comes down, chances of rape comes down, and the spread of these STDs, including the HIV, will come down. And in a statistics, it shows that well-educated couple use the condom 99% than the uneducated couple. This one sentence itself is enough to show the importance of sexual education. So if you know about the problems of intercourse and the outcome of intercourse as far as the STDs, HIV, and unwanted pregnancy is concerned, you save a lot. Unwanted pregnancies are prevented, unwanted abortions, illegal abortions, septic abortions are prevented, and the death, maternal death during these abortions are prevented. And if you prevent unwanted the teenage pregnancy, you save so many girls. Our girl population is declining because of all these ill health of our society. That should be stopped totally, and that can happen with good sex education. So I sincerely thank the HRDC of the University of Mysore and Professor Nanjan Swami and all the participants who participated they actually as well as passively and heard my lecture very, very patiently for more than I think 80 or 85 minutes or so. So thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Go to HRDC.
Somebody should propose vote of thanks, kindly. Yeah, our vote of thanks.
Is it required?
Yeah, sir, it is required. You are in
Okay.
a, you are in a
Because this is a
formal
classroom, you know, that nothing
No,
like
you are
this,
in a
and I am
formal
part of
you
it.
are in
I
interaction.
have been
so let it happen
associated with
formally.
my alumni. I am the PhD holder from the same university.
That's
So
great.
since I am the student of the same university, think
So
that I am part of you rather than an
no, all
outsider.
of your younger friends, all of your younger friends to give
Oh,
vote
yes,
of
so
thanks.
sure. Thank you.
Please,
Thank you.
somebody should do.
Yeah, you do, Rashmi.
No, I think sir will be doing. They will.
Yes, vote Murugesh. Yeah. Arnandan sir.
ಸರ್ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನದ ಈ ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನದ ಅಧಿವೇಶನದ
They will be able-
ಅತಿಥಿಯಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಹದಿಹರೆಯದ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ
Anamaraja, you introduce yourselves. I don't know.
ಹದಿಹರೆಯದ ಲೈಂಗಿಕ
ನೀವು ಯಾರು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ.
ಸರ್
ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಹೊನ್ರಾಜು ಸರ್.
ಹಾ ಸರ್ ಸರ್ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಹೊನ್ರಾಜು ಅಂತ ಅಸಿಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಕಿತ್ತೂರು ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಕಾಲೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
Okay, fine. Please go ahead.
ಬೆಳಗಾವಿ. ಓಕೆ ಸರ್.
Any of your schools and colleges, if you want me, I'll be very happy to come free of cost to your schools and colleges and address this.
ಖಂಡಿತ ಸರ್.
No honorarium is required and no arrangements of any transportation and everything is free.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನದ ಈ ಅಧಿವೇಶನದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಲೈಂಗಿಕ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣವಾದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕುರಿತಂತೆ ಹದಿಹರೆಯದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಆ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನ ಕುರಿತ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಶರತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಸಂವಾದಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಶಿಬಿರಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಮನಬಿಚ್ಚಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಶಿಬಿರಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಓಪನ್ ಮೈಂಡೆಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಉತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಕಿ ಅವರು ಡಿಸೋಜಾ ಅವರು ಕೇಳಿದಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸರ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಉತ್ತರನ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಚಲಿತ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣನ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋಂತಹ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರು. ಸರ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಕಾರಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ಪಂದಿಸಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ. ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ಗು ನಾನು ಫ್ರೀ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಈ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನ ಬಂದು ಎಂಗೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಾನು ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ಶಿಬಿರಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ HRDC ಮೈಸೂರು ತಂಡದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃದಯಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಈ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಮರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ವಂಡರ್ಫುಲ್ ಸೆಷನ್.
Thank you. Shivaratri, wish you happy new year in advance because we may not be able to meet you again. Probably I'll be meeting you after 2 or 3 months whenever HRDC wants me. Usually I come online and of course to the college also, to the HRDC department also once in 3 months. I hope I will meet you again and on one-to-one basis when I come next time to the University of Mysore. Otherwise, I'll be very happy to meet you in your own environment whenever you want. Thank you, Shivara.
Thank
Thank you.